That fresh produce stand there, that's a beauty.
What do you listen to?
My favorite murder podcast.
Taggart and Torrance podcast.
The produce stand.
Fucking sexy.
It's Thirsty Thursday, and that means we are once again hanging out at the produce stand, a podcast paying tribute to everything in the universe. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are many other Letterkenny podcasts out there, but this one is about to get squirrely. I'm Al, your host, and joining me in the room as always is the lovely Tanya. And online we have Squirrely Matt. Unfortunately, Victor is under the weather today, so he will not be joining us. But joining us this week, making his second visit, he is an award-winning Canadian stand-up comedian and actor. He's a self-proclaimed man mountain of comedy. You've seen him on Just for Laughs, Last One Laughing Canada, Roast Battles Canada, What Would Sal Do? But of course, we all know and love him as Professor Trish's best student and one of the main hicks on, sorry, here we go. We all know
Letterkenny?
I will not edit this. And I messed this up the last time you were on, K Trevor. Here we go. But of course, we all know and love him as Professor Trish's best student and one of the main hicks, Squirrely Dan on Letterkenny. Please join me making some noise for K Trevor Wilson.
Wondrous!
Oh my god.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Wait. Oh my god! Oh my god!
I regret nothing!
Does that bring back any memories?
You have no idea how embarrassed Michelle was recording the yeses.
You know, and she had to sit there and listen to that sound clip when we had her on, just like you just did. So you can imagine.
Yeah. Oh no, it was the four of us out on a hot day in front of the produce stand with the crew, and a lot of guys and a handful of girls, and Michelle having to do her yes, and
Oh man.
That's amazing.
She was so embarrassed, and it's like, we're all doing it, hon. We're all
We're all in the same boat here.
we're all making the exact same noise and looking stupid. In fact, I guarantee you, we all look stupider than you do, dear.
I love it. You're fuck. This is perfect.
Oh yeah, no, they put that in the script, and they're like, "How are you going to play this one?" And I dropped I think I'll try it this way. Oh fuck! And Lisa was like, "Yep, that's how I want you to do that."
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for coming back. I mean,
thanks for having me.
You were one of our earliest. So we were talking about this before you joined. When we started this, in 2020, actually, we're about to hit 4 years on Saturday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This was a pandemic project. We were just having some fun, getting together when we couldn't physically get together. And first we had plywood on, and that kind of made us think, we never really considered doing interviews with cast members. And then you were literally the second person we had on from the cast. And at the time we're like, oh my God, we got K Trevor Wilson. I mean, he's one of the the four hicks. Amazing. So I credit you for, making us believe that we could do, we can continue doing this, because we could have quit, 10 episodes in. So thank you so much for doing that back then.
Thank you for the yes.
Yeah.
Hey, you're welcome. I had a lot of free time during the pandemic.
Didn't we all?
I'll take it.
So in that first episode, we covered kind of your background and how you got to where you got to. So let's just do an update. Like, what have you been, because it's been 3 years. What have you been up to the last 3 years?
Well, as you know, we stopped doing Letterkenny.
Yes, we will get to that. Yeah.
It came to an end.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a hell of a ride. 12 seasons in 8 years. We did far better than anyone could ever have perceived we were going to do. Mm-hmm. Took the show further than just about any Canadian show has gone before it, and did the live tours, traveled around, saw North America, got to meet a lot of interesting people and discover some insanely famous fans, and come home and wrap it all up. And now it's gone on to do other things. Had a nice 4-season run with Roast Battles Canada.
Yes, excellent.
Wow.
We're going to talk about that too, because
and hoping that there's more of a future with that down the road.
mhm.
And working on some new projects, and then personally just been spending a lot of time doing stand-up, hitting the road pretty regularly. Just was just in Indianapolis for 4th of July weekend doing stand-up there, and in a couple weeks I'll be heading out to Austin, Texas, and Tacoma, Washington, and then in the fall we'll be launching my first headlining theater tour in Canada, K Trevor Wilson and Friends.
That's amazing. And so,
Amazing.
yeah, we're definitely going to talk about all of that because, that's why you're on today. First of all, congratulations on getting married during that
so
time,
much.
because that happened after you joined us. How are things going? How's married life?
Married life is great. Married life's terrific. The wife and I, we got hitched it was about 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it'll be 3 years in August, and moved out of Toronto to a nice little small town, started living my gimmick, as they say. And it's been nice. We got a couple dogs, got a couple rabbits.
Wow.
I joke next year I'm building an ark. I just have 2 of everything, and no, it's been great. I'm way better at being married than I was at being single.
Nice.
That's good. I found this in an article not too long ago. Has she gotten accustomed to being known for stalking you in the early days? Because I heard how you guys met was a bit interesting, and
she still doesn't like it when I call it that.
No.
She still doesn't like it when I call it stalking me on the internet, even though that is technically what she did.
Well, I call it research. I mean, I'm with her. Like
But no, it was, she's definitely not Squirrely Dan's wife. She is she is very much her own person and a strong woman with her own accomplishments.
Amazing.
There's no worry of her being overshadowed by me. She's a tremendous gal who's going to be known for far better things than who she married.
Amazing.
Well, you mentioned.
I'm so glad it's working out, man. It's amazing.
You mentioned you moved out of the city without doxing yourself. What part of where did you move to?
We're in Durham County.
Okay.
We're about an hour northeast of the city.
Very nice.
Nice little small town. We were sort of in the thick of the pandemic. We were in a 1-bedroom condo by the lake in Toronto, which was great. A great spot to be. One of the prettier locations you can find in the downtown core. But it was just it was great while we were busy. But when we were at home for 2 years straight, we were starting to go crazy.
A little squirrely.
We started sleeping in shifts, and it wasn't even something we discussed. We would like meet up twice a day, and then one of us would go to bed. And it's like we'd meet up for breakfast and dinner, and then one of us would have the house to themselves. We'd hang out for a few hours, and then someone would go to bed, and the other one would have the apartment to themselves for a bit. And I was trying to get work done. She was trying to get work done. She was taking online courses. I was, doing podcasts and cameos and whatever I could. And
right.
Whenever one of us was doing something, the other one had to sit quietly in the other part of the condo. So it was like, you know what? Maybe we should speed up the life plan a little bit and start looking for that next place. And we were, looking all over, and she'd always wanted to live up around Durham, where she'd used to ride horses when she was a girl, and her folks are up here. So it kind of just made sense to go where we have family and where we, can have people nearby. And after a lot of house shopping, we found the right place that the right couple was selling. It was very much a seller's market, and we lucked out and found the one couple that didn't want to put up with a bidding war. They were just looking for a nice young family to sell their house to.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
They told me what they wanted for it. I wrote them the check, and Bob's your uncle. That was that.
I mean, Tanya and I are in a similar situation. We're just north of Newmarket. So in a small kind of neighborhood, when you moved in, did any of your neighbors go, holy shit, Squirrely Dan's my neighbor?
Yeah, actually the first day
Oh my God.
when we were unloading, while the movers were unloading the truck, Maurice and I drove up to the house and we're getting out of the car. And a guy was riding his bike with his kids past us and spun around so fast he almost fell off his own bike. And he was just like, holy shit, are you? And I was like, yeah. And it was like, what are you doing here? It's like, we're your neighbors.
Wow.
We just moved in.
Can't imagine.
And it blew his mind. And it's funny because like some people knew right away, like it definitely, it's a small town.
Right.
So bad gas travels fast. So does good gas, as it turns out. So, I mean, rumors were going quick. When I went to Service Ontario to change over my driver's license, the ladies there were like, we've been waiting for you.
Oh,
We
geez.
heard you were in town. We've been waiting for you.
That's amazing. Have they given you the key to the town yet? Has the mayor visited you yet?
I've gone for beers with the mayor.
Of course you have. Yes.
And buddies with the mayor. It's funny, one of the guys across the street, after a couple times of chatting while walking the dogs, he finally admitted that he'd been scared to death because he was a huge fan, and his family actually threw him a super soft birthday party. So he'd been
nice.
Oh, he's a full-on fan.
Yes. Some people just had no idea. I was out walking my dog one day, and my neighbor Bert stuck his head out and just went, "Hey, are you on my TV?" So I was like, "Yeah, that's me, Bert." He's like, how come you didn't say nothing? I'm like, yeah, I don't like to brag, Bert.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you ever throw on a few S's onto the words just to see whether or not somebody will figure it out?
I only do that if someone, subtly says something to me, because I don't feel like outing myself at all.
Yeah.
I like the anonymity of just being a regular person most of the time. But, if someone comes up and says, how are you now? I'll greet them with a good and you. And
That's awesome. Well, it's funny. And I won't put where exactly I am either, but my youngest goes to school with McCooey's kids in Toronto here. So, and he and I have talked a few times, and there was a school event and he was on microphone. And I had chatted with him before and he asked about the pod and this and that. And then he got up on the microphone and made a reference to dancing. And he goes, or some call a boogie. And I knew deep down that was a quick nod to me because he knew what a fan I was. And I kind of laughed and gave him a thumbs up, but it was, it's just those subtle nods, right?
Oh yeah. No, you let out the things to the people who appreciate it, but you don't want to do it too much that people think you're flaunting it.
Yeah, of course.
So before
I'm actually not even the most famous guy up around here. Hayden Christensen's family has a farm just outside of town. So,
Get out.
Oh, wow.
Everyone up here talks about that period when no one talked to you. You didn't approach him at the grocery store because he was still sore from all the Star Wars heat he'd taken.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like that's coming back around and people are now kind of getting a new appreciation for those movies. Because they got a lot of heat when they were first released.
There was nothing wrong with the performances in those films.
Yeah.
It was the writing.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
There's actually a brilliant thing on YouTube where a guy breaks down why they were bad movies, and not just from like a personal preference, but from like, if you understand film, like the first one, Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Was that the first one?
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
There was no protagonist in the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
There was no, because it couldn't be Qui-Gon's story. He died before the third act.
Yeah.
It wasn't Obi-Wan's story because he was on a ship for the entire second act.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't even involved. Can't be Anakin's story because you don't meet him till the second act, and he's completely oblivious to everything he's doing throughout. He has no comprehension of what's going on. There's literally no hero in that movie.
So no one to root for, no one to follow. It's just a bit of partial stories going on.
It's just a bunch of stories. It was like literally, all three of those movies were first drafts that no one had the guts to say to George Lucas, you need an editor.
Yeah.
Like, you need someone to go through this and take another stab at it, because you got good bones here, but structurally this makes no sense as a film.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he doesn't know how to write dialogue.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch all the documentaries on the first movies, because he was a less experienced director, all the actors were like, no one talks like this, and this is how we're going to say these lines. But in those second 3 movies, he wrote out all the subtext as dialogue.
Okay.
He doesn't trust actors to portray subtext, so he puts it in the speech.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
you've turned evil. Well, I think that the Jedi are evil. You don't need to say that.
Just show it.
Subtext of the scene.
Our buddy Chad is in for a surprise when he listens to this and he hears all the Star Wars talk. He's the biggest Star Wars fan we know.
But the performances were great. It was just bad writing.
Yeah, they took a lot of flack, and it's so unfortunate because they could have done some. But how do you? I mean, don't want to spend too much time, but how do you feel about the last few that they've done? Have they caught up to themselves, or they still fall into the same problem?
I mean,
the rise of Skywalker.
I think they tried to do too much. Like, they tried to appease the longtime fans while trying to tell a new story. And it was one of those things where I think they needed to spend a little bit more time on what they wanted that story to be and who the heroes were going to be, and flesh it out a bit more, because in the end, it was like trying to do too much. And it ended up like they were good. They were better than the prequels, far better than the prequels. And you're never going to be as good as the originals, because that's the benchmark. Like, that's always going to be what it's compared to. But if you try to, you can't do an homage and move the story forward. Yeah. Yeah, so I get you. They had to decide what they were going to do and do it. And they didn't know what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Totally fair.
And that's why I think the new series are way better, because they're just
more focused.
They're like, we don't have to like make another New Hope.
Yeah.
We can just tell stories in this world. And, Mandalorian's just like a good cowboy movie in space.
Well, and they take their time telling it, right? They don't have to do it in a 90 minute or 2 hour film. They can do it in a mini series, right? So definitely.
And the serial, when you have a serial, it's always way easier to do it.
Yeah. So back to you.
Yep.
Let's talk about
my nerd hat off.
No, I mean, we can keep it on for comedy anyway, because we would love to talk about Laugh Out Loud Canada. Tanya and I watched that series. I think Matt, you did too.
Yeah, I watched it too.
Now, loved it. So much fun. I mean, my only complaint about that series is that you didn't last very long in it.
Well, I mean, I made it. I wasn't the first one out.
No, you weren't.
No.
And so, I mean, I was right around the middle.
Yeah.
I think I went out at a respectable point.
And you were solid until you weren't.
Yeah.
Like solid. Like, I had no reaction to almost anything, and then just gotcha.
Tom Green snuck that one up on me.
Those damn grilled cheese sandwiches.
Oh my God. That bit just kept going.
So for our American listeners, this is a reality show where, what was it, about 12 comedians?
Oh, they've got it in the States.
Oh, do they? Okay, yeah. So basically,
it's on Amazon. It's in the States.
All right.
A lot of Americans have watched it.
Yeah.
I mean, the last one, Laughing Franchise, I think they've been in like 12, 13 countries. They've done, and the Laugh Out Loud Canada was only the second English language version of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
It started in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Japanese form.
That feels very Japanese.
And but the first English language version was Australia, which was hosted by Rebel Wilson. And then they decided to do it in Canada. I got contacted for it, and it was funny because, like, I remember when it got announced, and they were like, I think the prize was $100,000 for charity, and every
what about us? We're comedians.
Like, open mic comic in Canada was like, well, what about charity? We need money. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're not who they're going for. Yet, Johnny, 3 sets under your belt.
Mhm.
Don't worry. This
Yeah.
show isn't for you. This show is for people who've done something before.
Yeah.
And that was like, when I got asked to do it, all I knew is that Jay was hosting it, and Jay's been a buddy of mine. I've gone to his Canada Day parties at his house,
Amazing.
I've known him since I think we met when we were 19 doing a Pizza Pops ad. So
Wow.
Love that.
I've known Jay for a long, long time. So I knew he was hosting, and it was like, cool. If anything, I get to hang out with my buddy for a couple days, and just so everyone knows, we all got paid for it. Like,
Sure.
we didn't do it for free.
Yeah.
But on top of getting our, extra fees for being on set, there was a potential to win a great deal of money for
A charity.
a charity of each of our choosings. All the
Yeah.
performers got to choose what charity they would donate the money to if they won. And it was such a surreal experience.
I bet.
But
How long was the shoot? Because it's 6 episodes.
One day.
Was it- Sorry?
One day,
One
Oh,
day.
wow.
Okay. The whole thing
It's all
happened
stuck
over
in-
one day.
like 10 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
And did you know most of the cast for that when you went into it, or were there some real surprises to you?
We did not know. The only person that we were all kept in the dark of who the other cast members were. All we knew is that Jay was hosting it, and that we were on it, and that everyone else was a Canadian comedian.
Okay.
But they separated all of us. We all had meetings. They were like very careful that we like never accidentally bumped into each other. Even on the day of shooting, like, we were moved through the hallways in secrecy. So I didn't know who else was on the show until I walked into the room or they walked into the room.
Right.
And so it was a huge surprise. And
Was there anybody you saw going, holy shit? Like, because I'm looking at the cast, and
There's some big names there.
Deb Di Giovanni. Tanya and I used to see her when she was, years ago, and she's still like doing it, like working hard. But Dave Foley, Tom Green, like, there's some heavy
Colin
hitters here.
Mockery.
Colin Mockery, any of
Yeah.
them go like, take you back going, oh, this is going to be tough.
like, immediately when you see like those guys walk in,
Yeah.
you're like, there's some heavy hitters
You're
here.
like, oh
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
These are guys and gals I've been fans of
Yeah.
for a long, 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 long time.
Mhm.
And there's a handful of people that, I already knew. I'd known, I knew May before she moved off to,
Right.
or before they moved off to Britain. Sorry, pardon
Yeah.
me for that.
Yeah.
My apologies. So I knew May before they moved away. I knew Deborah, had known Deborah for many years. I'd worked on festivals with Tom and Colin and Dave before.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we'd all met. I didn't know Brendan that well when was it Brendan?
Yeah. Brandon Ash Muhammad.
Brandon
Yeah.
Brendan Ash Muhammad. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a newer one that I'd never heard of.
Yeah. Brandon, I knew him by
Excuse me.
reputation, but we hadn't really met
Mhm.
or hung out before that. Andrew and I had, again, we hadn't met in person, but we'd been interviewed on the same
Mhm.
podcasts and stuff at the same time before. So
I can't remember the timing of that. I
we-
guess Kim's Convenience was already a big deal when he was on that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So he'd already won awards for
Right.
Kim's Convenience at that point.
Yeah.
That's actually how we first met. Is he beat me out for Best Supporting Actor, and I congratulated him, and he thanked me, and that's how we became buddies. Caroline I hadn't met before, but obviously I had watched
Yeah.
Yeah.
forever. Not just her stand up, but
Mhm.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch. and,
Right.
Yeah.
her many and she took over for Rosie and
That's right.
hosted her
Yeah.
own talk show for
Yeah.
a few years. So that was really cool to meet Caroline. She was tremendous. And John and I had been Facebook friends for a million years, but had never met in person. So I was a big fan of John
Oh.
LaJoy when his all of his raps came out on
Right.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And so watching him on
The League.
so it was really cool to finally meet those guys. such a crazy social experiment and
bet.
ridiculous time. And you never know what's going to happen. And like, it's funny because watching it back, so much stuff got cut out.
Right.
Like, so I had worked out a bit with the writers and the producers. Like, we all had bits set up.
Okay.
So that we could try to break people and like props and stuff. So as a diabetic, my bit was I was going to come in and announce that I'm a diabetic, so I've got to get rid of the candy. And I was just going to start throwing out candy that we had placed specifically for me to throw out. And I started dumping candy everywhere. And Deborah and some of the other comics got so mad at me. Like, no one thought this was a bit or anything.
Right.
And so I ended up like covering the floor in candy, and then I felt bad, so I had to clean it up by hand. And yeah, so they cut that whole sequence out.
Man.
They got so like, what are you doing? Throwing out the candy. I want that.
So you almost had the opposite effect.
Like, it's only here for me to throw it in the garbage.
That's too much.
But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that got cut out. I was actually at the CSAs a couple months ago talking about LOL with Andrew and about how. So when I got my warning card, John had asked me what Andrew was going off about, and I said, "Oh, he's doing a bit where he pretends we're all racist." And John goes, "Oh yeah, pretending." And I was walking away, and that throwaway made me chuckle, and that's when I got my warning card.
All right. Yeah.
Andrew actually was doing that, but they cut it out of the broadcast. He kept declaring things racist.
Oh my God.
Like something would happen to be like, "Oh, that's racist," and he'd start screaming about how racist like an innocuous thing was.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but they cut that out, so I just seemed like kind of an asshole. I'm like, "Oh, Andrew's calling things racist," and it's like, no, but you really need to show him calling something
The
racist.
whole thing.
that
You need the context.
It's shocking that was all done in one day. I mean, I guess that's where editing, right? Editing is
yeah,
key.
it was a 10-hour day.
Yeah.
And they just kept like anytime they'd have to like, there was a couple times where they'd have to come in because something happened and they'd have to pause it to reset it, or anytime one of us was about to get a warning or our elimination, they'd stop it. And those were the times where we were allowed to laugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get all of our laughs out.
Would that work against you though? Because once you get it, sometimes when you get the giggles in you, it's like,
yeah, but sometimes it's just nice that you get a release and then you can reset.
Right.
But it was like, so it was like 10 hours of filming, and then
wow.
And then they just edit it together into 1-hour episodes.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And
it was a lot of fun.
Any chance?
Like the first day was like our first day there was doing a lot of interviews. Then we filmed it, like our pre-match interviews.
Right.
Then we filmed, and then the next day we did our like after show interviews and filmed what became the opening sequence for the show. And so it was like pretty much 3 days for the whole thing.
Wow. Amazing. Any chance that there'll be another season?
Could be. I don't know if they've ever repeated a season yet with any of the other countries.
Right. Oh, okay.
They seemed very happy with it, but it hasn't happened yet.
And it's, I mean, Canada for some reason has like a huge number of, I mean, you could do it again because there's so many comics out of this country.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, they've only had one kid in the hall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah.
There's so many other, there's Trailer Park Boys and other Letterkennys who haven't done it.
And at least 3 other iterations
have made it.
That's right. At least 3 other iterations of Tom Green too, right? Like
I'd 100% watch it.
We only saw one. The other one that we really enjoyed watching was the roast battles, and that's where we kind of get introduced to Olivia Stadler and Ali Pierce.
Ali Pierce.
Talk about that. I mean, because you're a judge on that show, and along with Russell Peters, a comedian we love and we've seen many times at Yuck Yucks. Like, talk about that show for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that for me was just like one of those perfect things to come together. I was in the first season of the original roast battles
as a roaster.
As one of I made it to the semifinals.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't get. I guess I didn't
the
watch
American
the first
version,
season.
which was recorded at Just for Laughs.
Nice.
I was there representing Canada. So originally, the roast battles format, I think it was created by Brian Moses and Res Battle in L.A., and then they sort of split. And Brian teamed up with Jeff Ross. And continued doing it in the Comedy Store, and I think Raz took his version of it, and I think went to New York with it. And now there's like officially licensed roast battles all over North America.
Right.
I believe Dinesh Anwar runs the Toronto official roast battles at a comedy bar with Sebastian, I believe. So it's like now like the live version is officially licensed, but the success of the show at the store in LA led them to really think about turning it into a TV show.
Yeah.
And so they created sort of a tournament format for it. And the year before the original American season aired, they did sort of a test run tournament at Just for Laughs that was called the Jeff Ross Roastmasters Invitational Tournament. And they just grabbed comics who were at the festival. We were all representing our countries, so they had Brits and Aussies and Canadians and anyone else who was there. So I got asked to be one of the Canadians on it, and I hadn't really done too much. I'd done a couple of roasts of buddies here and there for things, but hadn't really done a lot of it. But was always, a believer that you got to try new stuff as a comedian to be the most well-rounded comedian you can be. And if something seems like it's going to be hard, you probably should do it. So I took the invitation and signed up for it, and that turned out to be the hot ticket of the festival. We did like late night shows and everyone wanted to be there for it. And that original tournament was won by Jimmy Carr.
Of course. That makes sense.
I made it to the semis in that one also.
Wow, good for you.
I lost to an American comic, and he went on to lose to Jimmy in the finals. And then they were like, okay, that works. The tournament style works. Like, so let's do it again. And then they came back the next year with the Roast Battles official TV show. And I got asked to do it again because I'd had a good run the previous year. And it came back with televised, bigger budget, bigger set, some bigger names involved in the show. Ralphie May was in it. Jimmy Carr came back and did it as well. And then some of mind you, like when we did the live version the year before, my very first roast battle, the judges were Jeff Ross, Wanda Sykes, Jason Reitman, and Dave Chappelle.
Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's a panel.
It doesn't get much bigger than that as far as who the judges were. But when we did the televised version, the judges were, I think I had Anthony Jeselnik and Whoopi Goldberg one night. I had Jimmy Kimmel.
Do you ever get like awed by somebody like a Dave Chappelle or Wanda Sykes?
It's there's always that thing when you see these people there that's like, oh my God, they're about to watch me do this.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you're a performer, so everything else melts away and you just go do your job.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dave Chappelle shook my hand and told me I was a very funny guy. Like I'll never
so fucking cool. Wow, man.
Wow.
I left Dave Chappelle speechless after a roast battle. So I'll never forget those moments. I got Kimmel from roast battles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we heard your Kimmel story. Yeah. So
but Jimmy was the judge, and we met in the bathroom afterwards. So, so I did the original American roast battles, and I'm still technically the world champion of roast battling. Right before the pandemic, at the last JFL before the pandemic, they did another Jeff Ross Roast Masters Invitational, and I beat Jimmy Carr in the finals to be the world champion.
Wow. Did you demand a belt?
Congratulations.
I know you're a
I
wrestling
got the
fan.
trophy. I got the trophy in my rec room.
There you go.
It's a very tall
Congratulations. That's amazing.
And and that was and no, wasn't televised. There's no tape of it. Although Michael Rappaport was one of the judges, and on his podcast he did like a recap of the tournament, and
in Michael Rappaport style.
I'm sure, yeah.
when the American Roast Battles had I think they did 2-3 seasons all in all, and then they franchised out the format. It's had a great run in the UK. Jimmy was one of the judges and hosts for a very successful British version. Actually, it was running in French Canada before we did an English Canadian version.
Oh.
Yeah,
they got Roast Battles Quebec. They ran that for several seasons, and then they decided to do the English version, and it just kind of made sense to bring me in, as I was the only guy in the country that really was associated with the product and had any experience with the TV show and the original format. So it was match made in heaven for me, and a great group. Russell, I'd known him, but we hadn't really known each other, and I got to work closely with him and bend his ear and learn from that tree. And Sabrina Jalise I'd known for many years, and Ennis Esmer, another guy. I mean, Ennis and I were doing stand-up at the same time when I started, before he became more of an actor.
Right.
Yeah.
He was an active stand-up, and it was a great group, and it just made a lot of sense. And being a judge is way easier than being a contestant.
I bet.
So it's my job to be the funniest person. It's my job to tell them why they are or are not the funniest person.
Yeah. Well, at the risk of bringing the mood down just slightly before we bring it back up, you mentioned JFL, and I mean, it's been an institution in this country for ever, and now it's no longer. I mean, talk about that. Like, how are you filling that void, or how are comedians in Canada filling that void? It's a massive void.
I mean, it's an incredible shame that happened, and there'd been a lot of things over the years. Like, it had hit a lot of roadblocks.
Yeah.
And there were some things that needed to happen. There was definitely some house cleaning that needed to happen a few years ago.
Yeah.
When people are behaving inappropriately, they need to be dealt with appropriately.
Sure.
And I think they removed the right elements from it years ago, but in those shakeups over the years, a lot of things have happened. I think they'd lost a lot of their government funding. I think they strayed too far from sort of the original vision of the festival, and I don't think people realize how much the French aspect of the festival, the grants and everything they got from the French, Canadian government,
right,
really helped pay for everything.
Sure.
And losing a lot of that, affected the festival greatly. And then they sold JFL a few years ago to sort of a conglomerate of owners. And a couple times JFL has tried to expand a bit too far, too fast. And when you spread yourselves too thin, and when every festival is just for laughs, it makes just for laughs a little less special.
Yeah, I was wondering
That's
about
fair.
that, because we went to I guess it was after the bankruptcy, so it was no longer a JFL show, but we saw a Mark Forward show this past summer that was originally, I think, a JFL show, and but that's in Toronto. I thought JFL was only in Montreal.
Yeah,
so
JFL 42 in Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, they had JFL. I mean, they did JFL Toronto, and then they took it away, and then they brought back JFL 42 in Toronto. And then there's a they had a JFL Australia, a JFL Vancouver, a JFL.
Yeah, you're diluting the brand when you're doing that.
Yeah,
kind of
they sort of took over the Moon Tower Festival and like at JFL Austin.
Wow.
I did JFL Bermuda one year, and
at some point,
if every festival is just for laughs, it makes just for laughs a little less
exactly.
special.
Yeah. I mean, the point of the Cannes film festival is for people to go to Cannes and celebrate film. JFL was supposed to be people going to Montreal and taking the greatest comedy on the planet, and now it's everywhere.
And they'd JFL Radio, they took over Sirius for a bit there, and then that led to a whole different controversy where they were trying to only broadcast JFL clips that they owned.
Mm-hmm.
So that was screwing comedians out of royalties that they were making, and a lot of people were making really good money off of their airplay on satellite radio. And there was a lot of mistakes they made, and it's too bad because there was a lot of great things that they did too. Sure. I mean, they produced Roast Battles Canada, they produced Roast Battles Quebec. They now our show's in limbo because of that. Sort of when your producers are in bankruptcy litigation, it's really hard to move forward with your product. But I know that they're not giving up yet, and that there's a sort of a miniature just for laughs style festival happening in Montreal this year.
Oh, good. That
the remnants of JFL is still very involved in and helping to promote, and hopefully they right their ship, and and it's not done, and this isn't the end. It's just an interlude before a rebirth, but only time will tell. But there's always been tremendous people working there, and so I hope for all my friends who are employed by that company or were employed by that company that they're able to right that ship so that they can all get back to work supporting their family, and also so that they return to producing some solid comedy content here in Canada, because there really is a void now.
There's a huge void.
There's no stand-up being produced in Canada. There's no showcase for Canadian stand-up in any way, shape, or form in this country, except for maybe
there's the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. CBC,
and that's it. And even that's a theme show, so that's people writing for theme. That's not necessarily them showcasing their material, which is still cool and still an awesome showcase, and not knocking the Winnipeg Fest, but it's a very different beast from what Just for Laughs brought to the table for
put Canada at the world stage in
years.
All right, let's bring the mood back up. Off the top here, we credited you and a bunch of your castmates, because after you we had
Tyler
Johnson on and a bunch of others, and it just snowballed right up until we had the big man himself finally come onto a podcast and grace us with his presence, and he actually had some nice words to say about you. So let's listen to his words right now.
On the topic of K Trev, you guys have met him, but there are a few things in life more gratifying than getting like a real good belly laugh out of K Trev.
Yes.
It's just the best. Like you won't get it often. He doesn't spoil you with it, but when you get it, it's great. I've done over 100 live shows with him across North America, and he's a guy who gets on stage and people see him smile and they want to smile too. He has that rare thing. And he also might be the only guy who loves a dick or a fart joke as much as me and Risky do. So,
oh, that's great.
Well, I think we got that belly laugh out of him when he was telling us his bathroom story. So,
right? Yeah.
Oh boy,
that all checks out now.
Well, what when he used the bathroom on set, that wasn't the actual toilet.
No, we didn't hear that one.
Clearly, he has many bathroom stories.
He's got many. Yeah, he's got many.
It's a genre for him. So we need to hear that bathroom story.
Do we? Do we though?
I think we do, because the bathroom story.
I mean, first off, Kiso's a beauty.
Yes.
Still love that guy.
Yeah.
Just called him up or just messaged him the other day to wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Because he's so Canadian. He was born on Canada Day.
Yeah, he's easiest birthday to remember.
But yeah, still a good shit, and miss going to summer camp with that guy. We had a lot of good times. We didn't always agree on everything. I still don't think I still disagree with Kiso's definition of a knuckle. That's his 100% real argument. It doesn't matter if you can't punch with it; it's if it bends.
And for those of you just listening,
you got 3 knuckles.
K Trevor counted 3 knuckles, not 2.
And but I do agree with him on a lot of things. And good guy, bless that guy. And yeah, he likes a good shit story. I always know if I have a good pants shitting story, I'll float it to Kiso and it'll give him a good chuckle. But that story he's referring to, where I used the toilet that wasn't a real toilet, actually wasn't a Letterkenny story, but that was one of my back when I was working when I was a teenager working on Goosebumps.
Yeah,
the second time, because I did 2 episodes of Goosebumps, but you only see me in one because I got cut out of my best friends, and I got cut out of the Haunted Mask Part 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
For timing, the episode ran long. But I was in an episode that you can still find called My Best Friend's Invisible.
I looked it up, and that was a hell of a bowl cut you had. Yes.
Oh, that was some mid-90s lesbian hair. Oh, boy. All of us teenage boys in the 90s had sweet lesbian haircuts.
Oh, then we look good, eh?
Long on top, shaved up the side. Oh, boy.
Amazing.
Oh, boy. Sporty uptown lesbian hair. But so we were filming that in the old, it was like, I believe it was the old Molson plant down on Front Street in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which got converted into studio space. So they shot a lot of Canadian TV there. I think one of the other projects in there was Once a Thief, was shooting at the time. And so we were shooting Goosebumps in there, and they'd created a school inside of the brewery. So we had our school set up, and I got brought in to play a bully, as I tended to play a lot of those when I was a teenager, because I was, 5'11", 230 pounds with this voice at the age of 14. So I was a hoss and big lad. So, we were filming Best Friends Invisible. I played the bully, so I pushed the hero into a bowl of tapioca pudding, and then blamed it on his invisible best friend, walked away chortling with my cohort, and then the invisible best friend picked up a fistful of mashed potatoes and hit me in the back of the head. Of course, I turn around, I don't see the invisible best friend, so I blame the hero.
Sure.
And the next scene is that kid cleaning himself off, he's covered head to toe in mashed potatoes, and he's cleaning himself off in the bathroom. So, movie magic. In the show, it looks like, this wad of mashed potatoes floats up in the air, and then I get hit in the head. In reality, that was a grown man hucking potatoes at my head for 14 takes, trying to get it just right.
So how many takes? 14, you said?
14 takes. 14 takes.
They felt necessary.
Not all of them hit me, but a bunch of them did. And then, so we're hanging out on set all day, which is a lot of hurry up and wait. And it's a lot of snacking on food. And, you're a teenage actor, so you're smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. And after a while, you got to use the can.
Sure.
So I went looking for the bathroom, followed the signs. There's a sign that said Goosebumps bathroom. I go in, it's a bathroom.
Right.
I go into the stall, use the toilet, get up, turn around and flush, and nothing happens.
Uh-oh.
And I try again, and nothing happens. And that's around the time I realize this isn't the cast and crew bathroom. This is the bathroom set.
Oh boy.
For the TV show.
Credit to the set department because
kudos to the art department and there for building one of the most realistic looking bathrooms I've ever seen. But that meant none of this plumbing was hooked up to anything.
Oh no.
Jesus.
So I had a choice to make.
Was this like your first or second role or whatever? Like,
I mean, I was a few years into TV.
Okay.
Point,
but you're a teenager.
I was still pretty green.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I had maybe just gotten my ACTRA membership, or maybe this still might have been a credit applied towards getting my full union.
Mm-hmm.
So I washed my hands. I found a sink that worked, washed my hands, and I just didn't tell anybody.
Attaboy.
I
was going to say, you still have a career going now, so clearly no one
the
found
call
out.
sheet, and I knew the next scene that they were filming was Hero cleaning mashed potatoes off of himself in the bathroom. So they were going to be sifting to the bathroom in just a little bit. So I came out of there, went back to set, and they were like, "You're done." And so I said, "Great," and I left.
Bye-bye. Oh no.
Never told anybody what I did for years and years. Well, I told my mom, but after that, I didn't mention it for a long time. And then it just became a story I told on set a lot. And I've never met the unfortunate person who definitely got the job of cleaning my Hershey bar out of the fake toilet.
Oh my God.
That was some intern's first day, I guarantee you.
Yes.
First and last, probably.
He's now an accountant or something.
The second half of that story. If you were someone working on Goosebumps in the 90s and you had to clean a strange turd out of a prop toilet, I apologize for that.
Amazing.
That is amazing.
So when... Give Tanya
you broke Tanya.
When did you find out that season 12 was going to be the last season?
We found out in the summer before we went to shoot.
So that close.
We'd come off the tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were under contract for 3 more seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And got a call midsummer. Well, I got a message from my agent saying they wanted that the Letterkenny wanted to do a sit down with us. So I think I was on a Zoom with Jacob and Michelle and Keese, maybe one other person. They were telling us in groups and just let us know they were shifting focus. They were going to, Keese, I wanted to turn his attention to Shorzy.
Right.
And didn't want to spread himself too thin. For years and years, he talked about just wanting to do Letterkenny for the rest of his life. And then I think in the last couple of years, he started worrying about jumping the shark.
Sure.
And which I don't think we were anywhere close to doing. But
I mean, we've reviewed every season, obviously, and the last couple were some of the strongest that we like. Some of our favorites were seasons 10 and 11. I mean, but I mean, I guess hockey is Jared's passion, and that's probably the show he wanted to do all along. And it's too bad because
he's very hands-on with it. He's very much in control of that show. He's always writing and rewriting it, and so I'm not surprised he wasn't willing to pass it on to someone else either, although, that was always an option that was there. There were a lot of great people that could have stepped in and, who'd written on that show and knew the tone. But, he didn't want to do that. And it sucked for us. Not gonna lie, we definitely wanted to at least ride out the contract. We'd finally gotten we were finally going to get some of the Hulu money. So that was like, we missed out on a really big payday, all of the actors on the show, because they signed the Hulu deal after they signed us up for a very big extension on the original contract. So we were getting broadcast around the world, but we were being paid for Canadian rates,
Right.
which, in the long run are not the industry's strongest rates.
Yeah.
And not that we did poorly, but there was a lot of money that we were kept from.
Sure.
So that was not fun for us. And yeah, it's, we'd had a great time on the tour. We were all kind of really riding high on it, and it sort of took the air out from that. And that last season, I'll be very honest, was a hard one to shoot.
I bet. Yeah.
Wasn't a lot of fun. Kiso, for his own reasons, didn't really want to do a victory lap like other shows had done on their last season, which, I get that, he's a humble guy and you want to stay humble, but I think for some of us, it would have been nice if there was a little bit more celebration of the work we'd done for over 12 seasons. And working on that last season was also hard because our entire crew was moving on to Shoresy.
Yeah.
With Jared and the producers. So there was a large number of people there who were very excited about their new job.
Yeah.
And talking about, Shoresy. And I was like, well, that's great for you, but none of us are on it. Like, this is the end of the road for us. So glad you guys have that to look forward to, but we're all going back out there, slugging it out at auditions again. So it was a difficult season to do for a lot of different reasons. It was bittersweet ending to the show, and an ending that, wasn't the best situation for all of us to be in. And, they already had their replacement set up.
Right.
So it's, I'll be honest. I love trying to support Kiso, but I have a very hard time watching Shoresy just because it's,
Sure.
that's, it'd be like watching,
New girlfriend,
watching your wife go off with her new husband.
The new husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were a family for 12 seasons, and now there's a whole new family. And, it's, we had a good group. That was a lightning in a bottle kind of a show.
Yeah.
I don't think that kind of success is very easy to repeat. And everyone was perfect for what they were doing on that show. That was an amazing cast. And, it's a wonderful crew, spoiled us for every other show we're going to be on, because I've never been on a show as efficiently run as that one.
Sure.
That's a consistent one, yeah.
Pages a day, which is unheard of for television. And it was a hard one to say goodbye to. And it's a thing that it's going to follow me around for the rest of my life. Good or bad. And I have a lot of wonderful memories of doing that show. But it's and that was my first big show, and my first ending of a big show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we felt the same, from afar, and we we understand, or we can empathize, maybe not sympathize, but when we heard that was the last season, it hit us hard too. So, and we have interviewed, as you hopefully you've seen, most of the cast and crew from Letterkenny, and we can echo what you say. They've all been amazing people and solid people, and to a man and woman, they say what a great group that was to work with.
Yeah. Have you maintained, or do you maintain relationships with a lot of cast and their crew? Like, is that something that's going to stay with you too, those friendships?
I'm one of those guys who I don't talk to people every day.
Yeah.
But, whenever I see one of those guys, we pick up right where we left off. I'll always have love for all of them on that show. And, we chat every now and again. I live out in the country now, and I live a pretty quiet life. And so, a lot of the times those guys are getting together in the city and hooping it up. And that's just not the scene I do anymore. But, we still get together every now and again. We all Bell took us all out to a hockey game back in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And actually, a bunch of us are doing a fan expo in Toronto together.
We will see you there. We can't wait. We can't wait. Yeah.
That'll be great to see all those guys again. And I mean, and like we all live in such different places. I think
sure.
DP splitting his time between BC and LA, and TJ's been out and he's had quite the year out there in British Columbia, actually. So I mean, he's been very busy with life, and I think Evan's in Toronto and Hersey's in Toronto these days, but they're I think Evan got married, so
he's keeping busy. We had him most recently, I think, actually we had Michelle on as well a few months ago, but yeah, everyone seems to be keeping busy. We had a bunch of listener questions we're not going to get to, and that's fine. Maybe we can do a part 3, because we should really talk about the upcoming Canadian tour that you've got. Yeah. Now you had mentioned Letterkenny Live, and we had tickets to that last Letterkenny Live show in Kitchener, and unfortunately it got canceled, so we never got to see that. Which it's one of our greatest regrets. We did check out the Letterkenny Presents with McHenry and with Mark Ford, and that was a great time, and Ali and Olivia. So really, and I've seen that you've been all over the place. I mean, you've been keeping busy, but with very few Canadian dates. So really happy to find out that you're finally going to grace this country with some K Trevor.
Yeah,
Wilson
I mean,
shows.
We're super excited doing K Trevor Wilson and Friends.
Yeah.
We got a ton of shows coming up. We're starting in the East Coast, working our way out to Alberta, and then coming back into Ontario. We got shows in Sydney, I think Summerside, PEI, Halifax. We're in Thunder Bay, Sudbury, London, Ontario. We're in Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary. We got Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto.
Yeah.
And that'll be running from September to December. We'll be doing that run. And a great group of comics, all members of the Comedy Records roster, coming out. Guys like Nick Reynoldson, Paul Roblauskas will be joining me on some shows. Great comics, Todd Graham, Claire Belford. I think Arthur Simeon's joining me on a couple shows. Themios Nasiopoulos, Keith Pedro. Just a lot of really awesome people, almost too many to name. I've got a huge list in my emails. And it's great to finally be doing some significant shows in Canada. It's hard. There's not a lot of premium clubs in Canada. So a lot of the clubs here don't want to pay me my rate. So that's why you haven't seen me too much. There's great clubs, Rumors in Winnipeg, Comic Strip and House of Comedy, which are Rick Bronson's clubs. A lot of those are out west. Laugh Shop, Calgary are all great clubs that I've played over the years, who bring in premium talent and pay a good rate. I'd love to perform at more Canadian places, but I'm not doing it for the same money I did it for 20 years ago.
Sure.
Totally fair.
What's the venue that you're doing in Toronto in December?
The Royal.
We're doing the Royal Theatre in Toronto.
Nice. That's a nice place. So
it'll be December 8th, and that's the last show on sort of this tour. And if it's successful, hopefully we'll do more like this. And people have been upset that we're not hitting the West Coast and BC. We had 3 shows set up there, but the venues fell through. It's very difficult to coordinate theater tours across the country, because you put together your package of this is the product that we're selling. You send it out there and see who's interested in it. And then from the theaters that are interested in bringing you in, you then have to coordinate, the timing. And it's like some cities want you when you're not, when it's just too difficult to be out there. It's just, it doesn't make sense logistically to fly from one end to the other in a single weekend. And I also have American dates that I had that I've already committed to mixed in with that. And the scheduling that I do, I don't do the tours. Like the Letterkenny live tours were 3 months straight of performing.
Yeah.
And that's not how I want to do a tour.
You want to spread it out. Yeah.
I don't want to be away for 3 months.
Sure.
I don't want to be on the road in a bus. Like I like my wife. I like my dogs. I like my house. I like to come home every once in a while and recharge. And so I don't want to do 3 months straight on the road. So the dates all have to fit into a schedule that makes sense for me and the other comics to do the other things we want to do and have something that resembles a human existence.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
Well,
and long term, it sounds like you became a dog person. Because when we spoke to you last, you said cats.
That's right.
Well, I grew up with cats. Now I have 2 dogs, 2 rabbits, 2 dogs. So,
There you go.
So we
a
hope
lot of people are upset because we're not coming to their neck of the woods. And just because we're not coming there now doesn't mean we're not going to make it there someday.
Exactly.
But it also doesn't mean we hate your town or don't want to go to your town. It didn't work out in your town.
Yeah.
Either your theater didn't think that the show would draw and didn't ask us to come there, or scheduling wise, it just didn't work out the way we wanted it to. But come out and support the shows if you can. Amazing live comedy. Tickets are available on ktrevorwilson.com and also on comedyrecords.ca. There's also VIP meet and greet packages that you can buy for a good number of the shows. I don't know about all of them, but for a good number of those shows. And I mean, there's going to be a ton of amazing comics. Some some you might have never seen before. And I'm going to be doing my thing, which hopefully people still want to see in this country.
Absolutely. Will every show be sort of unique? Like, is there a different lineup of comics at each one, or some carrying over into multiple shows?
There's some comics who will be doing, I think, besides myself, Nick Reynoldson is booked on the most shows with me, but it's pretty much a different lineup from show to show.
Amazing.
Like basically every weekend it'll be like a similar group.
Yeah.
But not every show will be the exact same, I don't believe.
Awesome.
Maybe 1 or 2 shows will repeat, but literally if you want to follow the tour, you'll almost see a different show.
I was going to say, lots of reason to follow you around.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to definitely see you in August at Fan Expo in Toronto, and we're hoping to catch you then in December when you do your Toronto show. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, please come on out. Tickets are available now. Again, ktrevorwilson.com, comedyrecords.ca for all the shows. And if you're close by and want to see some comedy, this is definitely the show. And they're reasonably priced tickets. I'm going to say that too. It's about $35.
So before we let you go, Trev, Matt, did you want to ask your final question? And then
Yeah, just one last. I asked everyone. Actually, didn't get to ask you last time, but I mean, we've talked a lot about Letterkenny. You know the sort of cult following it has. I think it obviously it goes out saying it had a pretty big impact on your life and career. What did it all mean to you, looking back at Letterkenny?
It was a good reminder that I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. You slug it out in this business for a long time, and it's not a forgiving business. It's not a kind industry. Entertainment is not for the weak of heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business that doesn't need you and doesn't want you. You really have to dig your heels in and prove your worth time and time again.
Yeah.
And after a lot of years in this business, to land on a show that was that good, that ran for that long and made that many people happy, it was definitely let me know that this was what I was supposed to be doing, and this is where I was supposed to be at.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you. And I applaud you, man. Like, we're obviously huge fans. We're so grateful and thankful you were to come back on and talk about this again tonight. I mean, I know Al's going to wrap up, but wish you absolutely nothing but the best on the tour and all your future endeavors, man. You deserve it. We're big fans.
Oh, thanks so much, man. Thank you so much.
Did you have any?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. It was a pleasure seeing you again. I can't wait to see you at Fan Expo. Definitely want to see you in December when you hit Toronto, and looking forward to all those great laughs that you have coming to our way.
Thank you so much.
K Trev, we appreciate you joining us for a second time. Can we make it a third time? Because we have all these, audience questions for you. I mean,
I think we're going to have to. I think we're going to have to figure out another time, do another one of these.
I mean, we're practically neighbors now. So if you ever want to do a live one in person, we can do that for sure.
We can figure it out. Yeah.
Great.
There you go.
Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to play us off here with a song. Well, Tanya's favorite song. You already know it. Your Man by Joji. And that's all we have for this episode. If you'd like to support the podcast, please tell a friend. Also follow us on most social media outlets at ProToSandPod. Thank you for joining us. Now we're going to go hang out with our new neighbor, K Trevor Wilson. On behalf of K Trevor, Tanya, Matt, and myself, thank you for listening and have a great week.
Have you ever loved? Would you go again? Don't be down when it's over.